Night shifters, ever witnessed a paranormal activity? If so, what was it? I worked at a 7-Eleven. One night I kept hearing what sounded like a little girl crying, but the store was completely empty. Whenever I'd go to the area where I thought it was coming from, I'd hear it from somewhere else. I hope somebody was messing with me, but I'm not sure. A lab building where I once worked was the site of murder-suicide, which happened while I was there. Awful and sad. We didn't have shifts per SE, but I had to work late one night autoclaving equipment for the next day's experiment. The autoclave room is right next to the lab where the event took place. I hadn't seen anyone else in the building. After I started the load, I was about to leave the room when I heard a crash outside. I immediately opened the door and saw that all the contents of a table in the hallway had been pushed to the floor. Water bottles, a packet of papers, pens, etc. Since I was right by the door at the time, I would have seen and/or heard someone running away. It was against protocol to leave things in the autoclave overnight, so I had to stay an hour and a half to get them out, but nothing else happened. I left the stuff on the floor, though. Didn't want a repeat of that. I don't have a story, but here is the one my wife likes to tell. She is a nurse, and for a couple of years she was working night shift in the palliative care unit, which is a comfort care / end of life unit. Patients in that unit are expected to die, or to be sent home, or to a care home to die. Anyways, those rooms also had a radio, and according to her it happened a few times that a radio suddenly turned on, and within an hour or so a patient would pass on. One rather busy night, the radio turned on and my wife went into the room, stared into the darkness, and said, "Cut that out. I don't have time for this shit." And the radio suddenly snapped off. No patient died during the rest of her shift, but one passed away shortly after she clocked out. I work the front gate at a military installation. The night shift is super dull and quiet where I'm at. For a while I noticed this dark green old Ford Bronco that would roll up. When I would stand out the gate shack, the car would do a 180 and leave. This happened about 2 to 3 times, until I finally caught the license plate before it turned. I ran the numbers to my supervisor. He asked me if I was sure. I said I'm 100% certain. He tells me it couldn't be because the numbers led to a vehicle crash report that involved the exact same vehicle and plate number to which the driver had died, and the vehicle was totaled. That shit made me want to switch to days. I worked at a movie store in college. I was closing one night and just kind of doing a final walkthrough. I kept hearing what sounded like movie cases shuffling. I looked around thinking maybe someone had came in last minute, although I didn't hear the bell ring for when someone enters the store. Didn't see anyone. Then I hear what sounds like a movie fall off a shelf in the kids section. I go over, and there's a movie laying on the ground, and I shit you not, it was Casper. Used to work at IHOP. A cook before my time got shot and died during robbery. I would always hear someone in the kitchen, such as the spatulas clanking, but nobody would be in the kitchen. Once I saw a black figure in the back, figured it was the cook. When I went outside to the front of the restaurant, the cook was sitting outside smoking. There was no current orders either. Other coworkers experienced some stories. One of them said she felt pushed, but I can't speak on what I didn't see. I was working at a gas station at like 3 AM one night. A car pulled into the pump, guy got out and started pumping, and then the car and you just vanished. I was looking right at it, and it just popped out of existence. I told my boss the next day, and she turned white as a sheet. She'd seen the same thing, same exact description, same car, same pump, same guy. Night watch in the barracks at Fort Gordon. That's a night shift, right? Anyway, so many things happened in 3 different rooms that I could write a book. It completely changed my belief in paranormal activity. This one took place in the middle of the night, so this is the one I'll tell. I'm sitting by the stairwell on the 2nd floor and hear someone shouting in a room down a hallway. I'm on duty, so I run to the room and swing open the door expecting to see some fighting. There are several people in this room pointing up to the ceiling next to a wall and telling me they're doing it again. I ask them to explain, and they tell me that ever since they moved into that room, someone lifts up the ceiling tiles and makes funny faces at them at night. The latrine is on the other side of the wall, so I go over to see if anyone is there, and there isn't. So I climb onto a desk in the room, to lift up the ceiling tiles to see if they are still up there. When I lift up the ceiling tiles, all I see is a cinder block wall that goes all the way to the floor above. There's only about an inch between the back of the ceiling tile and the wall. No way a face was there. Two of the soldiers freaked out and ran out of the room and slept in the hallway. This was only the first of many incidents. I work on a boys unit at a mental hospital. Recently my patients have been complaining about seeing ghosts in their rooms at night, claiming they've seen things, coloring pages and art they've taped up, fly off the walls, doors open and close by themselves, and a few patients have claimed to see full body apparitions. Given their age and psych status, I'd usually take their stories with a grain of salt, but actually I sort of believe them. The hospital opened as an asylum in the mid-1800s, and patients have definitely died there. Much of the original building is still used, including my unit, and honestly, when I walk around the halls at night, hours after the patients have fallen asleep, it legitimately does feel like someone is always watching me. I think it's just a matter of time until I have my own ghostly encounter. When a patient buzzed and asked me to ask the person behind the curtain to go away. For your information, it was dark and everyone was in their beds. Repossessing cars. It's about 2:30 am. Me and a buddy in the same car. Corner of Route 70 and 571 in Lakewood, NJ. A 97 to 98 Honda CR-V pulls up in the left turn lane. She had no face. Like no face from that bad 90s Dick Tracy movie. While working at a psych ward, every morning at about 2 am there would be the sound of someone running down the main service hallway, followed by the same door at the end slamming. One time I kept a close eye on the area, but when I was distracted for a few seconds the footsteps began, but when I got to the area there was nothing. According to one of the managers, that had happened for several years, always at the same time every morning, and most believed it was a ghost of one of the deceased clients. Another time, all the battery-powered wall clocks in the unit spun around a few times simultaneously. That was freaky and everyone in the area screamed. Pretty minor things. I was a custodian in ICU, 2 nurses and me on shift, and it pretty empty most of the time. I have 2 stories. Doing my shift as I was cleaning the empty rooms. Every minute or so out of the corner of my eye the shadows move. Pretty WTF moment the first 2 times. We had a brain dead patient ready for organ harvest. It was me and a nurse in the room when she froze. I ask if there is something wrong, and she says I know that's impossible, but he just moved pretty scary. PS. He didn't. I interpreted night shifters as something akin to skinwalkers for a second, and was very confused by this question. If you liked this video, smash the like button, and subscribe for daily dose of Reddit. Have fun and get reddited.